Hi, it's Hans at happierman.com. Today's topic is verbally abusive wives and your family. Well, sometimes what happens to guys, and I think this happens a lot actually, is you know that your wife isn't good for you. You know that she treats you bad. You know that she yells and screams. She's sarcastic, demanding, and unpleasable. And she uses other verbally abusive tactics to kind of get her way, to push you around, to kind of make your life miserable in a variety of ways. And you don't like it, but you stay anyway because of this concern with your family, right? That your family, you don't know how your family is going to react to you leaving. You don't even know how your family's going to react to you starting to think about leaving, or even express your dissatisfaction with the situation. In my case, I didn't tell my family that I was leaving until I left. I left on a Saturday, and I called my mom and dad later on that day and told them I left. And that was the first inkling that they had that something was wrong. Now, they were extremly supportive almost immediately after maybe a state of shock, and in the weeks, days, and the weeks, and the months, and the years afterwards, they're extremely supportive of me. And I hope, if you leave your wife, that you've got some supportive parents, because that can be of extreme value to you as you're moving on and recreating your life. But like I said, I didn't tell them before I left. I thought that, what if she gets nice again? I didn't want them to be suspicious of my wife. I thought, well, maybe it'll all work out. She'll get nice again, and I won't have to tell my mom and dad how bad I've been treated all these years. But looking back with the wisdom of hindsight, I would want my children to tell me if they have this problem. I would want to help them, and I think most good parents would want to help them. But I think a lot of guys, you're trying to be the big man, the responsible guy in the room. You don't want to bother your parents with your problems, right? They're old, they got their own issues. You are a grown man, you should be able to handle things, right? That's your attitude. Well, how's that working out? It's working out. It worked out terrible for me. I had to suffer for years dealing with this verbally abusive women, till the point where my life was more or less destroyed, and I don't want that for you. So, regarding your family and their desires for you to stay married, because that's just what we do, right? We, as family, you should stay married, young man. Suck it up, be a man. She'll be fine. She'll settle down. Talk to her, go to counseling, lay down the law, all that stupid garbage that you hear, right, from time immemorial. Your parents don't have to live with her, right? You're there living with her. This has got to be your decision. If you can't deal with her, you have to leave. It doesn't matter what the opinions of anyone is regarding you leaving, except yours. You're the person. It's you're the husband. She's the wife. If she can't treat you in a way that makes sense to you, that you can enjoy, you have to leave, no matter what anybody in your family says. And this can include her family too, right? Because you've got married, and you start to interact with her family, your in-laws, and you can have nice relationships with those people, and you may feel the need to stay just to stay on their good side. I felt that too. We got along pretty well with all of her family, very well actually, and you feel the call to stay in a big family like that, because, well, once you join the family, well, now if you leave, you'll probably not be in that family anymore, right? So this is a huge issue that you're going to have to overcome in your mind, right? Think of it this way. You could have these great family get-togethers, once a year, or once every couple, or once at the holidays, or you might go on a vacation together. You might have nice weekend get-togethers over time. But what about the rest of your life? See, these good times will get wiped out with the horrible times you're spending with your verbally abusive wife. You can't let the family, your family, her family, any family influence you on your decision of whether you should leave your wife or not. If she's verbally abusive, the short story is to leave her. I talk a little bit about this family situation in my book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man, with the 3-step system available on the happierman.com website. I got a long article about the book to kind of describe it a little bit more, and the book is very informative. If you're in a verbally abusive marriage, this book will save your life. Getting back to other family situations, I've had a story. Somebody he knew that his girlfriend wasn't right for him, but he got married anyway. He had like family pressure about it, and the marriage just kind of turned into a disaster. But he had the family pressure to say, well, you're such and such age. When are you going to start? When are you going to settle down? She's a good lady. Get married to her and start a family. So you'll hear that crazy stuff from your mother, your father, the aunts and uncles, grandparents, and you just have to tune all that stupid garbage out. You have to. The people, they may love you dearly, but they really aren't doing you any favors at all by pushing you, forcing you, rushing you into a marriage that you don't think you're ready for. Another story I remember from a fellow I worked with many years ago. He was a little younger than me, and he was married to a lady, and actually his father worked at the same company. So sometimes the group of us would be out in the lunchroom at lunch. The father would be there, the son would be there, me and some other guys would all be there, and we'd be talking. And a younger fellow, good talker, very opinionated, had a lot of ideas, and he would sometimes share these stories about some of the things his wife was saying to him, some of her reactions to him, and I can remember thinking at the time, oh my gosh, that sounds just horrible. She's a real you-know-what. And he would, kind of laugh it off, but deep down that's just hurting him, right? That this lady that he's married to is treating him like garbage. And on the surface, their marriage probably looked fine. He had a pretty good job where I was at. Apparently, she had a very good job, making a lot of money. They didn't have any children, so they ended up building this gigantic dream house out in the country, and I know, had all the bells and whistles on it because, they're making so much money. And he was having fun, buying all the toys you have out out in the country with the big giant mowers and the giant, 4-wheel drives and all of that. But in the end, he got divorced. He just couldn't deal with this lady anymore. But getting back to the family, I can remember clearly his father saying, yeah, she's the best thing that ever happened to you. What? So the kid is telling us, this my wife, yeah, my wife was screaming and yelling at me last night as I was playing video games with my friends the night before, so she was taking offense and screaming and yelling and calling them every name in the book, and so I'm remembering that this lady is doing this to him, and then the father's saying, well, yeah, she's the best thing that ever happened to him, to his son. So what you'll find is a lot of parents are totally clueless about what makes a good life. All right, just because a lady looks nice and has a good job and makes good money and has her stuff together doesn't mean she's a good lady. Right? If she's screaming and yelling at you, if she's verbally abusing you, if she's making overly demanding and overly high maintenance, she's not good for you. And sometimes in the passage of time, your parents, in their misguided ways, are kind of stupid about how much pain and you can tolerate. And I would say, as a man, you shouldn't feel the need to tolerate a lot of pain. It's okay. A pain is occasional, but only occasional. Mental pain and from the verbal abuse of a verbally abusive wife is not okay. That's going to ruin your life. That's going to send you to an early grave. You're not going to enjoy your life at all. And your family telling you, kind of implying that you should stay married to this lady because she's the best thing that ever happened to you, or, you know, I'm still married, you shouldn't think about getting a divorce, even though you may not even be happy. All the in-law, everybody else is married, you have to stay married. Or if they give you some snide remarks about the divorce rate, or what are you going to do about the kids, I wouldn't take any of that into account. I think you have to take your advice from people who've gone through it with the divorce of a verbally abusive spouse, and the ones who haven't been able to do it, I wouldn't listen to them at all. In the months leading up to when I left my wife, I contacted 3 of my best friends, 2 from high school, 1 from college, and we were still pretty close, although my wife certainly did everything in her power to keep me away from my good friends throughout our marriage, which is a huge sign that she's not good for you. But anyway, I contacted them and kind of shared a little. I was telling them, I didn't give them all the gory details like I lay out in my book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happy Man, the 3-step system. But I did say, you know, she's just not good for me. She's kind of abusive, and I was trying to get at to them. They were divorced. 2 of them were divorced, and 1 had split up with a long-term girlfriend, you know, and said, you know, what's it like afterwards? Is your life just a living hell after you leave a wife? And they all said no, that they had never been happier. They had started on the path of recreating their lives the way they wanted them to be. They didn't miss their wives and how they treated them. They just were busy trying to be happier. And, you know, certainly there was financial issues, and there was maybe logistical issues with the children, but all of that is minor compared to the pain of living with a woman that's not good for you. You can adjust your finances. You may have to adjust your living standards downward considerably, and you may have to adjust them downward considerably for years or decades or your rest of your life. Logistically with the kids, yeah, it's going to be way, way, way different. But you can have even a deeper, richer, more enjoyable relationship with your children if you're not dealing with the verbal abuse from from your wife. So again, I wouldn't take into consideration advice from your family to either get married to a verbally abusive woman you know is probably not going to be good for you, or to stay with a verbally abusive woman or any woman who's not good for you, unless they're, you know, if they've gone through the divorce and can lend a kind of a perspective on it, well, that would be different. But if they're saying you should stay with her no matter what, I would not listen to that at all. I would not listen to that at all. So I know this is all very, very difficult. I know there's enormous pressure from families for you to stay with her, you know, financial and all of the extra logistical problems that being split up causes, and the embarrassment of having somebody in the family divorce. But that's really small potatoes compared to the enormous problems that she's causing in your life. So give that idea some thought, all for now.